Hey guys, Abby from Motor City Nerds here, and if you guys could do one thing for me really quick, it would really be helpful to me, and it's free. Just hit the like button or subscribe, and hi to the new subscribers. But let's talk about episode 6 of House of the Dragon. Now, there are a few things that I want to hone in on more than others, but this is what I was kind of afraid of. I was afraid of the time jump happening, and all of a sudden, these characters have flip-flopped. I'm not saying that time couldn't do that to characters, but essentially, overnight, you made almost everybody completely unlikable, in my opinion. I felt like Rhaenyra was being a bit more harsh than she needed to be. Here's my thing. If you've been around the channel, you know, like, I like Rhaenyra. I don't care for the Hightowers or Alicent Hightower at all, but I'm fully aware that Rhaenyra is not the greatest either, but I don't like Alicent. I'm a Rhaenys stan over here, so I'm fully aware of that. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't want to say they're like Alicent. You're awful. You're terrible. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about Catelyn ever again after Alicent and Sir Criston's behavior in this show. And then we'll get into it. I'm just saying, like making somebody cross this entire landscape after giving birth is pretty gnarly, man. One thing that I really am going to praise this show for is not shying away from the pregnancy stuff and how brutal that can be and how you never want to get knocked up by a Targaryen because if you notice, they kind of have issues giving birth because of incest life. And that's the other part I didn't understand. There were a few things in this where I was like, okay, I normally reread these every month or like every couple months. But why do we give a shit if someone in the Kingsguard is getting punched in the yard? I don't think that's a thing. I don't think that's a thing. And then other things like Alicent, why don't you shut the fuck up over there with you? Why are you acting like your kids are more Targaryen than Rhaenyra's when they're the same amount? That was just odd to me. And then I'm like, okay, well, if we're whatever. Anyway, we have Rhaenyra in labor. She gives birth. Then she's walking because the Alicent was saying, "Just bring me the baby." She just wanted to see, like, oh, does this one actually look like Laenor this time? And you're really getting your digs in. I'm sorry that you're upset that your friend got laid, but is it really necessary to do all this? So what Alicent wanted was just to hand over the baby to the midwives and let them bring it to me. But Rhaenyra wasn't having that. And she was like, I'm staying with my kid. And I mean, a mom would do that. So I liked that. And I liked that this woman walked across this entire castle and proved a point going, now everybody can see what you're doing to me and what you're putting me through. Because I kind of took it, and tell me what you thought down in the comments. I took it as Alicent is doing this for shits and giggles because she's bored, kind of. And it's like, I'm sorry that you accepted your complacency and your place in this patriarchy, but don't take it out on your friend. And it's, but like when we get to the end and she's looking at Messafoot all funny, and she like looks afraid of him. Like, why are you looking all shook? What did you think was going to happen? Did you just think that was like a joke when King Viserys said, if you keep talking like that, do you understand what the penalty is? Like, it's treason, it's death. Like, so why don't you stop saying that? And it's like, it's almost like she doesn't have anything better to do, so she'd rather plot on Rhaenyra. That's how it came across to me. Been saying, like, I wanted to see King Viserys and Rhaenyra and have this father-daughter relationship that's actually decent, and from what the information we have, like I always say, but I enjoyed seeing him actually just happy to have his grandkids be healthy. And I've been calling Viserys a goober, and he is a goober, but you can say all you want about him. I think the reason that Daemon, like everything with Daemon bothered him so much, not just because he loves his daughter, but because they're genuinely brothers and love each other like brothers. And so he's hurt by what Daemon was doing before. And same thing with, in this episode, we really see him like, I just want my family, like legit just my family, happy and healthy. That's all. And especially in Westeros, that is something that should be celebrated a little bit. So good on you, Viserys. I did like when she said, or when Laenor was like, we're naming him Joffrey. That was after the boyfriend whose head got smashed in at his wedding. So I liked that. But I didn't like when Rhaenyra was like, I'm the only one who's bleeding. And he's like, man, he's covering for your ass. He's saying these kids are his, and you both know they're not, and you are both allowed to live your life, and this guy looks like he's been around and been very nice to you through all of that. So I don't know why you're being such a dick to him. And then when she was like, why I want to name, why should you get to name my baby? And he's like, it's my family too. It almost like he hasn't gotten a say in none of these kids' names and stuff. And it's like, you're already having kids with other people, and he's obviously okay with that. Give him a name. Jeez, what's wrong with you? Like, that's how I genuinely felt. I was like, you're being a real dick here. Like, I understand that you just gave birth and stuff, but there's no need to go out of your way to be extra mean to your husband. I did not understand why that was a thing at all. Like, you got Sir Harwin there. Now, remember that Sir Harwin, the guy she's banging now, the father of all her children, his dad is Hand of the King. And Alicent's real salty about that, we find out. We find out that she's like, oh, well, my dad would have been partial to me, and my dad would have done, and it's like, oh, whoa, okay, so you're just outright saying it. And it's like, I'm sorry that your dad got fired, but maybe he shouldn't have been a scheming little rat. But I liked Sir Harwin and Rhaenyra and Laenor all having their little moment, and then Laenor even, like, leaves the room so that this guy can have a moment with his kid that was just born. So that's what I didn't get. I was like, you're being awfully angry towards this man, and he's doing nothing but bending over for you everywhere he can. Oh, we get to see the dragon pit. We get to see, so Rhaenyra's oldest son they're calling him Jace, and I think it's Jacaerys, right? Jace has a dragon. That's a Vermax. That's the smaller one we already saw that he's feeding, and then we get to see Aegon older and Aemond, Aegon's little brother. So Rhaenyra's half brother is Aegon, who Alicent yells at that you are the one in the way, Aegon, like, okay. And then his little brother is Aemond. This is the fun part with George R. R. Martin. Like, I know I give George flack over here, but this is the fun part with his series. He writes in circles. Like, that's why this series is so fun to theory craft for, because we have all these characters going back where we can compare the ones we already have to situations that already went down. Once you start noticing the patterns, like Harrenhal, the castle where they get burned alive at the end, that happened to a family there already. To Harren the Black and his sons. It's super fun to be like, oh, but then it connects here and it connects there. Like I was saying with the other episode with the wedding, and we were like, oh, well, we had Marjorie who married somebody that she knew was gay and for political gain and all this and that, and was fully accepting of it. Yeah, we're in the dragon pit. We're feeding Vermax. That's Jace's dragon. Now, Aegon, the older one with the blonde hair, did anybody else notice that they, like, shot for shot copied Succession? I'm just saying. I have been comparing what Alicent does with her son later on down the line to Cersei and Joffrey. Like I said, it's fun, and once you start to notice the patterns, you can always compare them all over the place, which is the fun part. Yeah, in my notes, I literally have, they're being a dick too. The king is the only one being genuinely nice. This is what I mean when I say things are repeating. This Aegon the second is awfully not completely like Joffrey, but he's acting real Joffrey adjacent. Him doing that out the window onto the, like, you're just saying you don't care about any of the people that you perceive beneath you, so you're kind of an ass. And then there's a really great quote in the book. I don't think this is in the show. It's when Arya and Jon Snow are talking. Because I liked that they made it important to not only show Aemond and Aegon in the green of the Hightower house of their mother, but then we have Jace and his siblings in the red and black of House Targaryen. And I have a video breaking down the greens versus the blacks. But I like that they had them even in their clothes like that, because that's like a big thing in the book is Joffrey comes walking out at Winterfell and he's rocking a outfit that has the Lion of Lannister equal to the Baratheon stag. And it's like, you are equating the royal family with not the royal family, and that's like a big thing. I'm trying to find the exact quote, but I don't know if I will. But either way, Jon makes a comment to her of like, I wish I even had one house. He's got two, and they're like joking about it, and he's like, that's awfully bold of him to be rocking the lion equal to the stag, the crown stag. And then Arya's like, and then Jon and her are joking, and Arya says, oh, what? And I should do that too? And Jon's like, yeah. And she's like, what? A wolf? So Stark, with a fish in its mouth? And that's for the Tully side for her mom. And then they're just joking around about it. It's just a nice little scene between Jon and Arya, but even down to their clothing, it shows how important it is. So I like that they showed the Rhaenyra's sons in the black and red, and Alicent's in the green. I thought that Jace saying, can I say it, before saying Dracarys was really cute. And we get, like I said, we get to see him with his dragon. We get to find out that Aemond doesn't have a dragon yet, or never had one, his didn't hatch or something. And then Aegon rides Sunfire. Now, I explained that in my other video, but that comes into play farther down the line in the actual war, because you can't have banners that look the same when you're fighting against each other. So Rhaenyra's side keeps the red dragon on the black field, and because his dragon is Sunfire and is golden, he has a yellow gold dragon on a black field. Either way, the little turd's got a dragon. And like I said, he's not full-blown Joffrey, but he's Joffrey adjacent. And oh, when they had the pig, and I thought that, I mean, yeah, it was mean, but I thought, like, little boy shit. This is how you become close with your cousins and stuff. I don't understand why this family, who went through the Great Council of 101, who didn't slaughter each other and didn't murder each other's children, now all of a sudden that is a huge threat. I understand why Alicent would be worried about Rhaenyra doing something, but I'm like, this family hasn't done this yet to each other. So why do you guys keep acting like that's a common occurrence? It has not happened yet. So I don't know why you're acting like that is a thing. But either way, Alicent's all geeked up, showing up to her son, jerking it out the window like a piece of shit, and yelling at him. And like I said, there was a couple things in this, and I might touch in on them, that were just straight up from Succession. And I'm like, okay then, all right. I'd like to keep my Succession separate, because don't do that, but whatever. And she tells him, yeah, no, Rhaenyra will have, you are the problem, you are in the way, this, that, and the other thing, and this kid's a moron. Like, how stupid are you? God, that Aegon is the worst. He's just awful. And so she has to, like, spell it out for him. But like I said, the slaughtering of each other's children was not a thing. Like I said, you had a whole council between you and your cousin and who should be ruler because you didn't do stuff like that. So why all of a sudden would they be doing it? But either way, yeah, we have Alicent yelling at her stupid-ass son, who I can't stand. I'm sorry, I can't stand him. And that's probably what they want, but I'm like, God, you are just the worst. I think at least Joffrey was fun to watch. This kid's just a little shit. I know things, but I'm not going to spoil them. If you know how Aemond gets a dragon down the line, okay. So he doesn't go fully without, but I did like how they did that, and I did like that they showed, like, yeah, they were playing a prank and it was mean, but these boys genuinely seem like they get along together, and the only time there's strife is when adults are intervening. So find out about Alicent has one daughter, Laena, and I did like this because, like I've been saying, the Targaryens having dreams and seeing the future, and that's what Laena says when her brother shows up after he gets locked or goes running down the catacombs to see the dragons, and he shows up all dirty, and she's sitting there talking to her daughter, and she's looking at the gross centipedes and stuff, and you can tell she's just curious, and obviously isn't let out of her room and is locked away. And Alicent is just repeating the cycle of what went on with her, and she's doing it with her daughter, and it's like, well, that sucks. But Aemond shows up, and if you know what happens, you hear Laena say in the background, she says, Alicent's like, you'll get a dragon one day, and he's like, wah, and then her kids are just some whiny-ass bitches, and then the sister says, you'll have to shut an eye if you want one, and it's like, oh, I see what you did there. So don't feel too bad, because he's not going to go without for too long. We once again have Alicent popping off about her kids are this, her kids are that, and it's like, your kids are the same amount of Targaryen as hers, so shove it. We have King Viserys talking about his horse getting out and how he thought, oh, because this was the father, it would come out this certain coloring. And then he's like, and it was just the most average brown horse. It's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, chill. And Alicent ain't having it. And she even says that later in the episode. She's like, you can do what you want when I'm cold in my grave or something. And those little things are what make me go like, I don't think you really want to hurt people, and I don't think you really want to do stuff, but I don't think you're realizing the ramifications of your actions, even though you keep saying you do. I don't think you understand that or fully comprehend that. And this is almost like you're so used to living in this schemy, lying world that this is just another fun thing for you to do in your spare time because you're kind of useless. I also didn't like, why the hell was she even at a small council meeting? Either way, we'll get to that. But we have her and Sir Criston talking after this, and what a piece of shit he is. What a scumbag you are, sir. Like I said, I can't stand any of these people once again, but either way, we have them walking down the hallway together, and this is what I mean. When he calls Rhaenyra the C word, and even Alicent stops and looks at him like, you know I don't like that. That's too far. And that's what I mean here. Like, you can't hear this person get called the C word, but you're over here talking mad shit about her children and calling them plain-featured and all this stuff. You're an asshole. I like how she's yelling about privilege, and it's like, really? Because you're all pretty privileged in here. Let's just cover everything in the East. I cried when I got to see Vhagar for the first time. That was awesome. But we get to see Laena super knocked up with Daemon. And like I said, you don't want to get knocked up by a Targaryen. Dany's mom passes away. That's why a lot of people think Tyrion is a Targaryen. I think that. All of them. I don't think Tywin could have kids. Long story short. I'll go into detail another day. But their mom passes away giving birth. Like, there's lots of weird stuff that happens with Targaryens giving birth. Or you know, so they have complications there. And, yeah. So you kind of knew something was going to be up with her, with Laena and Daemon over in the East. And now they're in Pentos. I don't want to get all into that right now. But either way, they're over in the Free Cities. They're in the same city that Daenerys starts out in and meets Khal Drogo in. They're in Pentos for that, too. So I thought that was a cool little nod. But we got to see Vhagar. And I love that Vhagar is so big and scarred and not looking right. Because it's like, you have to remember that Vhagar is from the original 3. She's been through some shit. She's been through some battles. And like her whole life has been wars. So it's like, that's why she's the biggest and so scarred up. And I liked that design. I thought that was really cool. We have them, her and Daemon are riding around on their dragons. Then they go to dinner. They're talking with, is he calling himself the Prince of Pentos or some shit like that? And we end up finding out that he wants to marry one of their daughters, who, they have twin daughters. One rides a dragon, one does not. We have Rhaena and Baela. Either way, one of them has a dragon, one doesn't. And this Pentos prince wants to marry one of the daughters and wants to have Daemon stay there and wants their dragons and wants to make that happen. So we get them all chit-chatting about things, and we get Laena looking at Daemon like, wow, you're really considering this. I'm not really about that. And we get their conversation later on where I loved her line saying, when I meet my death, I want to meet it like a dragon rider. And that's why she does what she does. But this is another thing that kind of bothered me. I was like, so all of a sudden Daemon is just fully content living this life in the East, even though they kind of nod to the fact that he's not completely content, but he seems pretty content. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, whatever. Either way, he's great and I love it. But yeah, his wife's super knocked up. They have the 2 daughters already. We have her talking to one of the daughters. We see Daemon only teaching one of them High Valyrian and not the other. And the other one tells her mom, Dad don't want nothing to do with me because I'm not a dragon rider. And I loved their back and forth. That was really sweet and cute. And she tells Daemon, after she talks with her daughter, she goes back to Daemon and is like, dude, we don't belong here. Like, we're meant to do more than this. And I loved it. I loved everything with her and Daemon. It was great. And like I said, I cried like a baby when I saw Vhagar, and I cried when she went walking out to the beach and was essentially begging Vhagar to take her life. And I was like, oh my God. And you got to remember that dragons are super smart. Back and forth between her and Daemon. And then later on in the episode, we get to her giving birth, and she's like, she's not okay. And we even get, unlike Viserys, we have Daemon saying to the head midwife guy, can you save her? Can you save the mother? Can you save the mother? And he's like, no. And he's like, we can attempt to save the baby. And then when they turn around, she's gone. And she already knew what the deal was. She already knew, I'm not going to make it. I want to go out like a dragon rider. I want to go out my own way. And I really liked that. I really liked that a lot. And I liked her little spiel to Daemon, too. I liked everything with them in the East. That was great. Oh, my God. But outside of that, Sir Harwin beating the brakes off of Sir Criston was the best. So we get to see Sir Criston obviously not teaching Rhaenyra's sons the same as he teaches Alicent's. And then we have Sir Harwin, so their father, lurking around in the background watching this go down. And I really liked when he said that. He was like, what? Because you teach them to pick on people that are weaker or underneath them? Okay. So outside of seeing these kids act like little whiny shits, we get to see that, yeah, you kind of have been living the life and think that everything's owed to you and that people are beneath you. We already see how these kids view themselves. And so that's not going to make for the greatest ruler and or adult. But yeah, we got Sir Criston going hard on them, and then he's like oldest versus oldest then, after Sir Harwin says something, and then we have Jace and Aegon, and Jace is blatantly way younger than Aegon, and Aegon's going way hard on him, and it's like, if you ever played a sport and you helped coach or something with younger kids, you don't do that. You don't go full tilt at somebody, especially when you're fighting and they're blatantly much smaller and much weaker than you. But once again, we have the boys in the black and red, we have the boys in the green, and then we have the Aegon flip out, and then we see King Viserys and Sir Harwin's dad, the Hand of the King, just trying to enjoy their afternoon. And then we have, and I like when Viserys said this, because, okay, Sir Criston and Sir Harwin start going at it, and Sir Criston's like, well, maybe if it was your brother, or your whatever, or your son, and then Sir Harwin's like, okay, it's on, and he starts bashing his head in, and it's like, oh, it's not nice, is it, you scumbag? And I really liked that a lot. Good for you, Sir Harwin, even though you get taken out later in the episode. But yeah, we have the Hand of the King, and the King just trying to enjoy their afternoon. But at one point, Sir Harwin grips up Aegon, and Aegon goes full Joffrey, screaming and yelling, "Get your hands off me!" Now that people would have a problem with. Targaryens were often people left, right, and center just for touching them or looking at them sideways. So that I was waiting for. But then we get to see this kid's a little shit. He's awful. He's terrible. You perceive everyone as underneath you. So he goes nuts, and he's screaming and yelling, and then his grandpa, the king, says, Aegon, and, like, essentially calm down with that shit. You're embarrassing me. And I really liked that. I really liked that a lot, because this is what I didn't understand either. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but the Master of Arms, or the head of the King's Guard, getting into a scuffle in the yard where they're training people all the time, isn't that big of a deal, especially when it's someone, like Sir Harwin said, who is he? Who is Sir Criston Cole? He's a nobody whose dad is a steward. He ain't shit. And so that's how I was thinking. And then they were all acting like this was a huge deal. But then I'm like, you are the queen's little pet, so she might spin it up to make it seem worse than it is. And it's like, the king's right there, bitch. What are you going to do? He's totally fine with everything going down. Like, so, well, not totally fine, but you guys know what I'm saying? Like, he's got last say, and he's out here watching it. So why are the rest of you stressing it? But I thought that was kind of lame. Like I said, Aegon freaking out for anybody putting their hands on a Targaryen and on the royal family. I was like, oh, there it is. Bad, not good. And then we have, like I said, they spun this up like it was such a huge deal that Sir Criston got punched in the face outside. And I'm like, I don't think this would be as headliner worthy as they're making it seem. But maybe I'm wrong. Either way, I like seeing Sir Criston Cole get the snot kicked out of him. That was great. Oh yeah, Sir Criston says, don't let him get up. That's rough. Then we have Rhaenyra finding out about the scuffle in the yard, and she goes running through the passageways to go see her man, Sir Harwin, and he's getting yelled at by his dad, and they're going to go back to Harrenhal. Just so you guys know, nobody wants Harrenhal. Anytime you are given Harrenhal, anytime you're staying at Harrenhal, Harrenhal is cursed. It's not good. And this house doesn't make it to Game of Thrones, so obviously we knew something was going to happen there. But either way, we have Rhaenyra in the secret passageways, eavesdropping on her man and his dad, and how they're going to dip out soon and go back to where they're supposed to be at, and how he's going to give up his job as Hand of the King, yada, yada, yada. And they're panicking, and that's when Rhaenyra starts to kind of panic, like, oh shit, I'm going to have to get out of here too. And she goes back to her room, and that's when her husband shows up, and he's singing with his new boyfriend, Carl. And this is when I was like, once again, and I said this to my mom, and she was like, no, that's politically smart, Ab. And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I want, okay, if me and you are together politically, I know you don't want me like that, I don't want you like that, but we have to stay together and still be a family. Wouldn't I want the person you're with to be a good fighter and want and protect me also, on top of wanting to protect you? And she was like, my mom was like, yeah, blah, blah. So when we got to the end of the episode and Rhaenyra's like, you can come too. I'm like, okay, you had a stressful few days, you gave birth, your bitch ass friend is terrible and is your stepmom. And so I get it. But when she starts, like, going off on Laenor again and is like, what, you're going to go run around and wink at all your sailors and do this and do that? I haven't begrudged you nothing, but if you better do this for me now. And it's like, why don't you just tell him, like, we're about to get offed, like, we figure it out. Like, but I did like their back and forth of, like, the storms coming and seas and captains and all that BS, because that's his life. But either way, they're making their plan to dip out, and she can tell it's about to get real. He can tell it's about to get real. And at first he's like, I want to go to the Stepstones. I want to fight. I want to do this. And she's like, I don't think you're fully understanding the magnitude of things. So I definitely understood why she was pissed a little bit, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know why you're going so hard on this man. It's like, geez. I also understand it's a complicated position as a woman who stands on their own 2 feet for things most of the time, then going, I need you to protect me, and you don't want to say that because you can protect yourself. But at the same time, you're like, I kind of need you backing me up, bud. And I think that Laenor and Rhaenyra genuinely, they might not romantically love each other, but I think they care about one another. Okay, and here's when we get to, now this is 172 years before Game of Thrones, where they were throwing a fit about the Queen Regent, Cersei, about the Queen Mother being there. They were going ballistic about that. They kept using it as an excuse not to have meetings and stuff. Now all of a sudden, every lady is allowed to come and sit on the small council. I'm sorry, I don't think that's okay. That's a little odd, especially when you're like, ladies can't be in charge. Very weird. And so I'm just like, why is Alicent even here? And I understand for the back and forth and for the scene, but I'm like, would you be there? I don't think you would. I already had an issue with Rhaenyra being a cupbearer, but I understand, narratively speaking, why that works, and I don't have a huge problem with it, but either way, whatever. I didn't understand why Alicent was there for this. I'm like, you wouldn't be there. You guys want to act like you're all progressive and shit, but you're not. And like I said, this is way before Game of Thrones, and it's like, they're not very progressive in that time period. So I'm like, what? We can't be going flip-flopsies, okay? We can't be going flip-floppy with the characters, flip-floppy with their core being of who they are, flip-floppy with rules. You can't start doing that now. And like I've always said, the funnest part about my shithole of a job is I work with hundreds of people from all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, and that's the funnest part, is yelling up and down the assembly line, or we used to until, I mean, whatever. But we'd all be yelling about what we're watching or reading or listening to and talking about why we love a character. And even if you don't know every little thing about them, you can still enjoy this stuff. And that's what I've been saying, that I know a lot of just regular average people that aren't super good with keeping a million names straight and a million characters, and this one's from this house and this one's from that, and they might struggle when this time jump happens. And let me tell you guys, last Sunday, my phone was blowing up the second it hit 10 p.m., and everybody was like, what the hell is going on? What is happening? Who is where? What just took place? And I'm like, yes, for some of us this is easy. For some people it's not as easy, though. And guess what? We can all enjoy stuff the same amount. But this is what I was worried about. I was worried about the time jump and people having issues with it, and then them not enjoying it as much because they're too busy trying to keep up with what's going on. Even though it's not that big, I get it. I do get it. And I understand where they're coming from too. It's not easy for everybody. But either way, so we have this small council meeting where Rhaenyra, even her asking everybody to stay back and listen to her talk, is like a big deal. And her essentially, she's groveling essentially in front of everybody. She essentially, without doing it, she got on her knees and straight begged you, Alicent, and you still wouldn't budge. All you do is talk shit about her kids. And on top of that, you tried to embarrass her in front of everybody for something that women go through, having kids. She started to lactate, and it's like, instead of, I felt like that was a dig. I felt like that was a, remember, you're a lady. But Rhaenyra offers Alicent the best outcome. She's like, your daughter can marry Jace and be queen, and when he takes the Iron Throne, yada, yada, yada. So her oldest son would marry Alicent's daughter. And then she's like, how did you think I would marry my daughter to one of her plain featured sons? Like, geez, chill. Maybe if you genuinely were terrified that your kids were going to be slaughtered and all this stuff you've been cramming down your son's throat, maybe if you actually believed that was going to happen, you would be going, if this is the best option, this is the best option to keep my kids and my family alive. And Rhaenyra even says that. She's like, we're one house. We're one house. Like, there's issues with our families right now, and I don't want there to be. And we used to be friends. Alicent is the one not budging. But the Hand of the King quits. Alicent's like, you have to say it, sir. You have to say it. And he's like, no, I don't. You can shove it. And then she's like, my dad was the best. And it's like, was he though? Because he was a scheming little rat. And then we find out that not only is she BFFs, okay, so it's totally fine for her to have BFFs and men that she's going into rooms alone with and telling servants not to come in there and to leave them be and stuff. It's totally fine for her to do that. But if anybody else does it, they're a problem? Odd, strange. It seems like you're just mad that your friend got laid. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you're mad that your friend wasn't complacent in being in this machine, in this patriarchy, and tried to fight back and do what she wanted, and you didn't do shit except accept your fate and not do nothing to try and change it. And have to bang an old man. That's pretty gross. But either way, we have her being BFFs with Kristen Cole, and then we see her being BFFs with Clubfoot, and they're chilling and hanging out together, and then she, like, looks all panicked after his dad and brother, so Rhaenyra's boyfriend and the Hand of the King, who went back to their house, and it burned down and they died. We end up finding out that he orchestrated that, so he killed his own family, and then she looks all shook, and that's why I'm like, do you just not understand the magnitude? Because I'm gonna need a line of dialogue or something, because I don't know what your motivations are. And like I said, is Rhaenyra my favesies? No. Is Alicent? Hell no. But I'm like, you're kind of taking away all their likable qualities, in my opinion, and this might not be good. I did like right before they leave for Dragonstone, when her oldest comes running out after Sir Harwin leaves, and she's like, or he straight up says it. He says, is Sir Harwin my dad? And she's like, you're a Targaryen. That's all that matters. Because you guys, this is what I mean too. Like, when are you guys going to introduce, like, that the Martells allow women to inherit? Because this isn't like, that's what I mean. Like, you guys are having ladies at your small council. You're doing this, you're doing that. But now all of a sudden, I don't know. It's like, so are you this progressive or are you not? Because I don't know what you want from me. But then again, maybe I'm just nitpicking. I did enjoy this episode. It was fine. It was fine. But I didn't enjoy this one the same way I enjoyed the others. And for better or for worse, I mean, I also am going through my own personal hell right now, so that might have something to do with it. I just don't want people to think I'm going like, oh no, this is awful now. And it's like, no, that's not the case at all. I did like that Laenor, Rhaenyra's husband, is completely sympathetic the entire time. Like, when Sir Harwin has to leave, he's like, he had to go. Like, he's sympathetic to her. And that's why I liked when she turned around and tells Carl, like, you coming? Yeah, but Alicent acting like an innocent little lamb all of a sudden, I'm like, what? No, what are you doing? Oh, sorry, my back froze up for a minute there. That was bad. But anyway, we see Viserys. And I've been saying this since the episode of The Hunt. And I was like, oh my God, could you imagine being that young, having to be with this older guy, and she was calling him my love until he got all drunk at that fire pit, and she starts calling him my husband after that, and it continues throughout the series. She's only calling him my husband, but prior to that, she was calling him my love. How pissed would you be, and upset would you be, and emotional would you be if you were all knocked up in this burning hot, gross woods in a wheelhouse, 8 months pregnant, uncomfortable as shit, and then you go up to your husband, and who's been nice to you, but still weird, but yeah, and then he's all hammered, talking about how he never wanted to marry you, he never wanted to have children with you, he never wanted nothing with you, he had to, and then he got so drunk he didn't remember even saying that to you. You'd be hurt, you know what I'm saying? And then once again, we get to see him kissing his ring, his wedding ring, thinking about his wife. Like, I think he genuinely loved his wife, but somebody left a great comment, and I really appreciate this. They were like, no, fucking Viserys, he killed his wife. And I was like, no, that's true. That's true. Like, we see Daemon, who's this cold-blooded motherfucker, we see him show more compassion to what his wife is going through than his brother did. And I'm just saying, we already know how Daemon is, and he's showing more compassion than Viserys was in that situation. So you might not be on the battlefield acting like your brother, but I'm just saying. Either way, I thought that was a little interesting wrinkle. And then, like I said, I'm just going to wrap this up here, but then we have Alicent acting all scared. And I'm like, so are you afraid of this guy? What's going on here? And you know what I mean? And so it's like, obviously this guy is the little finger of the series and has no problem offing his dad, has no problem offing his brother, has no problem doing any of that because you're salty and have a messed up foot. I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah, Alicent, pick a lane. That might be the best way to put it. Just for like basic terms with anything. Like when you have a character that doesn't stand by what they believe in, whether you agree with what they believe in or not, that's when they get wishy-washy and you start going, do I really believe this? But, yeah, I'm sorry guys that this is late. I'm sorry that everything has been so messed up lately. Hi to the new subscribers. Please subscribe. I can't believe we're almost to 1,000. Like I really might cry. Like, and I am going to watch The Dark Tower live with you guys and just complain about it the whole time. So that'll be fun at 1,000 subscribers. And, yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't get into detail with as much. I've been just, man, it's killing me. It really is. Like, I'm just in pain right now, guys. I'm sorry. And it's starting to distract me. That's why I'm saying something. But yeah. Tell me what you really liked. Tell me if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. I just am like, yeah, no, this Aegon is a Joffrey or Joffrey adjacent, and I don't like him. And God, are they some whiners? They're just whiny as hell. And then I like seeing Sir Criston Cole get beat up. That was pretty great. And then, like I said, with Alicent, I'm like, huh. And then I'm like, Rhaenyra, you're kind of, and I knew that about these characters. And guess what? Characters can be layered, and we don't have to like every single one the same amount we like another one, and that's okay. That's what I'm saying here. Like, do I still like Rhaenyra? Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, kind of came off as unlikable in this episode a little bit. And Alicent, I don't think you've been likable this at all, ever. But I will say this. Everybody's doing a great job. This show is beautiful. It's gorgeously done. It's gorgeously shot. The dragons look great. Everything looks amazing, and the writing's very good so far. I'm just like, with this episode in particular, with the time jump, and characters kind of wavering on their beliefs a little bit, like I've been saying with this show, they all need to remember what they are. Are you a sheep? No, you're a dragon. Be a dragon. So, yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to factor in a little bit. I haven't watched the preview for next week. But, yeah, subscribe, comment, share. It really helps me out a lot. I can't believe we're almost to 1,000. It's crazy. But, yeah, let me know what your favorite was down in the comments. And I know I'm missing stuff. I'm just like, I'm so all over the place, guys. I'm sorry. But I did like this episode. I don't want anybody leaving this video going, oh, she didn't like it. She's just bashing it. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But I'm like, I was already worried about the time jump. And then I was like, wow, you did a time jump and you made everybody completely unlikable all in 1 hour. But I'm still very happy with this. I'm just nitpicking.